A woman murdered her husband and then wrote a grief book for her children. Starbucks' new olive oil coffee is making people poop a lot. And a missing lady was found in the wilderness, surviving 5 days on wine and lollipops. These are the weird stories for Tuesday on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast in the entire vast universe, the vast galaxy. This is the only one in the galaxy. A woman murdered her husband and then wrote a children's book about grieving. A woman who wrote a kid's book about dealing with grief and loss following her husband's death has been charged with his murder. Her name is Corey Richins. She was arrested yesterday in Utah and is accused of poisoning her husband with fentanyl. Prosecutors say 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl was found in Eric Richins' system after he died at their home in Camas, near Park City, Utah. Corey allegedly told the police she'd made a mixed vodka drink to celebrate him selling a house, but then she later found him, quote, cold to the touch after returning from checking on one of their children. The charges come after an unnamed acquaintance is said to have admitted selling her the fentanyl. If you don't know what fentanyl is, it's a painkiller 100 times more potent than morphine, and it's ravaging the American landscape currently. Seems to be the opioid of choice, and it's causing a lot of overdoses. In this case, it was the poison of choice for Corey, who murders her husband and then writes a children's book dealing with grief afterward. I mean, this is an insane individual. This reminds me of the woman who wrote a book, How to Murder Your Husband, and then was accused of murdering her husband. What is with these ladies? They just seem to want to write about killing their husbands. A lot of women out there that want to write about killing their husbands and want to chop off penises. There's a lot of those sorts of women. Thankfully, I haven't run into any of these. All right, let's keep reading and finding out. I'm actually curious, what was the name of the children's book? Now, a couple of months ago, Corey was promoting her grief book on local Utah television. She was on a segment called Good Things Utah. Oh, Good Things Utah. Yeah, real good. A murderous author. Now, on that segment, Corey told the television audience that she wrote this book to help her own family and kids deal with her husband's death. What a sociopath. I would love to know the name of this children's book. Was it called Does Daddy Float? Was it called Your Papa Deserves It? Or Sometimes a New Daddy's Better? Or how about Let's Bury Daddy, but where? Or Meet Mommy's new friend Steve, her personal trainer, who's also going to move in. Now, Corey says her children needed to feel that a loved one's spirit is always alive in their home. Oh no, here's the title in the cover of the book. It's called Are You With Me? Are you with me, Daddy? No, Daddy's not with you. Daddy was poisoned by Mama. Now, this sick bitch on the show said, quote, it's, explaining to my kids that just because he's not present here with us physically doesn't mean his presence isn't here with us. Yeah, well, pretty soon Mommy's presence isn't going to be here with you either, because she's going to be wearing a jumpsuit behind a barbed wire fence where she belongs. Starbucks' new olive oil coffee beverage is allegedly making people poop a lot. Yeah, good old Starbucks, just lubing up your exit pipe for an extra morning wake up. How about that? They care. They care about bowel movements over there at the Starbucks. The article says, lots of us depend on coffee as a morning pick-me-up. You guys know I do. I like a lot of different pick-me-ups, actually, in the morning. I'm not above a couple shots of espresso, piece of nicotine gum, and a spliff. Yeah. Daddy likes spliffs. Some folks on social media are reporting Starbucks' new product line is waking up their bodies a little too much. In February, Starbucks launched a range of beverages in Italy called Oleato, which combines coffee with olive oil. The Oleato line includes 3 flavors: Oleato Golden Foam Cold Brew, Oleato Cafe Latte, and Oleato Iced Shaken Espresso. I'm I'm at this point just hoping that I pronounced oleato correctly because I just rolled with it with the first pronunciation. Now, this is surprising to me that there's Starbucks in Italy. That's yeah. How weird how it's all come full circle because Italy invents the espresso machine. And now now you got Starbucks in Italy. I'd imagine it's not that popular. It says here, all of the beverages arrived in the U.S. on March 23rd, Chicago, Seattle, and New York City. I noticed it here in Los Angeles as well in April. I didn't purchase it. I don't usually give Starbucks my money unless I have a gift card. When I saw the ad for it, though, I decided to try it at home. So I dumped some Trader Joe's olive oil into my coffee one morning, and I had diarrhea for 2 days. So I did experiment with this, and I can confirm that my exit pipe was pretty active for those 2 days. Pretty uncomfortable, and I don't recommend it. Now, this is how it's made. Each beverage is doused with Partana extra virgin olive oil. As Starbucks describes it, this gives your drink a very sweet and lush flavor and makes it velvety smooth. It also makes your colon velvety smooth as well. Turns out it might be a little too smooth, it says here. After the drinks launched, some people who tried them took to social media to describe an unintended side effect: prompt races to the bathroom. Users reported bowel problems, stomach aches, diarrhea, and in some extreme cases, even vomiting. So what's behind all of this toilet activity? Well, to start, there's a pretty good amount of caffeine in these beverages. For example, if you get a grande from Starbucks, you can have up to 250 mgs of caffeine in that bad boy. That's a lot. That's a lot of caffeine. I believe your average cup of coffee is like 75 mgs. Because it's coffee, that part isn't very surprising. The fat content, however, is another story. The amount of fat ranges from 17 grams to 34 grams in a singular grande cup in the oleato line. I assume that's from the tablespoon of olive oil that they're throwing in there. Now, fat is an essential nutrient and adds plenty of flavor to your food. And when you eat fat as part of your meals, it slows the digestive process down, which helps boost satiety. Satiety? Is that a word? Must be. Smarter person than me wrote this. And this keeps you feeling full longer. But if you take too much of this too quickly, especially on an empty stomach in the morning, like many folks do with their coffee, fat can exacerbate the urgency to run to the bathroom. That's according to Bridget, who is a nurse. She says fats like olive oil can stimulate motility in the colon. Ooh, stimulate motility in the colon. That's a very fancy phrase to say, you're crapping. And they say, she says it also helps smooth the insides of your bowel, making it easier for stools to pass through. Stools! So that word always makes me laugh. Who came up with stools for poop? I just think that's a hilarious word. I guess they tried to use couch, but that just didn't make any sense. Now, all that oil and fat combined with the coffee can really get your GI system working. That's because caffeine also stimulates gut contractions. That's according to a gastroenterologist. Ooh, sounds like this person makes a lot of money talking about the poop. Coffee also contains acid, which boosts a hormone made in the stomach called gastrin, which stimulates a muscle contraction that moves your waist along in the GI tract. Is this getting too much for you guys? I'm getting very graphic here about what happens in your buttocks. High levels of this hormone, gastrin, could lead to diarrhea, it says. Add olive oil to the mix. It's no surprise that things can get very, very active. Well, I mean, you got two forms of poop lube, basically, in this one beverage. Yo, dog, we heard you like laxatives, so we put laxatives in your laxatives. Hey, see you in an hour. Says here, this doesn't mean there's any harm in giving these drinks a try, though. No, I don't recommend it. People want to try this, they're going to be in for it. I can attest to this. I used my body as an experiment for you, so you don't have to. Now, let me suggest you try something else, something that most of us have in our fridge. Add a little piece of butter to your coffee in the morning. Butter coffee is something that I was first confronted with in Asia, and I really enjoyed it. And occasionally, I'll make that here in my own apartment. So, yeah, give butter coffee a try. I don't recommend the olive oil. Or just drink it black, no sugar, no cream. Come on, be a warrior. That's how warriors drink it. It's a fact that that's how Vikings drank their coffee. Just black, no sugar, no cream. Sometimes they'd mix blood from their victims in there, you know. Viking style, baby. Would you like to easily create and distribute a podcast everywhere, even earn money all in one place for free? Well, try Spotify for Podcasters. Record and edit on your phone or computer. You can send it to Spotify and everywhere podcasts are heard. They even have video podcasting options as well. Spotify for Podcasters allows you to earn money with ads and subscriptions. Best of all, it's free. Try it. Download Spotify for Podcasters or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started. And good luck with your podcast. Good luck with your life, man. Yay! A missing Australian woman survived for days on wine and lollipops. That sounds like just a regular weekend for me and my friends. A missing lady in Australia survived 5 days in the wilderness thanks to a bottle of wine and some lollipops, according to authorities. The 48-year-old woman, who police only refer to as Lillian, went on vacation to Bright, Australia. Her family was soon alarmed after she didn't make a daily call to check in with loved ones. Police say their air wing spotted Lillian's car at the end of a dirt road in the bushland. She was 60 kilometers from the nearest town. She was trying to get out there and get with nature. The police van was then directed to Lillian's location where she was safely rescued, thank goodness. But she did survive 5 days on wine and lollipops. Who knew you could survive this long? You know, I had a similar weekend on vodka and Skittles, but I could only go 3 days on that. And I just want to say, for those of you who spent that weekend with me, I'm sorry, all right? How many times do I have to apologize for that? Now, it says here, our Australian outback lady, Lillian, was trying to get to a place called Dartmouth Dam. It sounds like a nice place. She was probably going to go for a dip. You shouldn't go to these places alone in the wilderness, though. Everybody knows, don't even hike alone, because things can get dicey out there. You could get lost. You could be attacked by a wild animal, especially in the bush country. I'd imagine there's a lot of crazy animals in Australia. So Lillian was trying to get to the dam when she realized she had taken a wrong turn. Her car got bogged down in mud, and she had no cell phone signal. She had no way to call for help. She was unable to move her car, but was able to use the heater for some warmth. Now, her visit to the bushlands was expected to be a single-day trip, so she only brought some snacks and lollipops for food, according to the police. Without any water at all, Lillian, who doesn't drink, turned to a bottle of wine she had bought for her mother. I mean, this is Outback Adventure 101. You go with some water, one bottle of water. How do you not go there without at least one bottle of water, Lillian? The article says some health issues kept Lillian from being able to walk for help, according to the police, but sticking close to her car was the key to her rescue. Here's a quote from the police sergeant, Martin Torpy. She used great common sense to stay with her car and not wander off into the bushland, which assisted in police being able to find her. This is the most ridiculous Australian accent ever. I normally don't talk like this, only when Jonesy imitates me in a closet. Now, once rescued, Lillian was taken to the hospital for some observations, and she was treated for dehydration. Here's another quote from the guy. After being lost in the bush for 5 days, she was extremely relieved and grateful to see us, and we were just as happy to see her. Well, you know, this story at least ends on a high note. They rescued this woman. It would have been a shame if she was found dead out there. Something that could be totally avoided by using common sense. Wilderness 101. Bring water. Bring a friend. Yay! Introducing Outback Wine, the only wine that'll allow you to survive for 5 days out in the bush. Yeah, I feel like that could be like a new product line. You could just promote right off this lady's adventure. Thanks for joining me, by the way, for another episode of Weird AF News. I appreciate all of my loyal listeners. You're wonderful. If you have just joined the podcast for the first time, we do Weird News 5 days a week. So subscribe if you're into it. On Friday, by the way, we only do Weird News from Florida, so brace yourself for that. But people seem to like Florida Fridays. So yeah, please subscribe to the show. If you'd like to give me a rating, that's helpful. And maybe tell a friend about the show. It's a good way to spread it, is word of mouth. Word of mouth while you're drinking wine and eating lollies. Yeah, eat your lollies. If you guys would like to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do that as well. With your ducats, with your personal ducats. Maybe you happen to be rolling in ducats right now. Well, you can join my Patreon or you can buy me coffee. All of that can be done off my website, weirdafnews.com, the official website of the podcast, paid for by the patrons. Thank you so much, patrons. I always appreciate my patrons. They're lovely people. Anyways, we'll see you tomorrow. If you want to email me something, because maybe you come across some sort of weird article you think I might want to cover, something appropriate for the show, it's a funnyjones@gmail.com. And, of course, we always accept phone calls here, 646-450-2012. I love you. See you tomorrow.